to Allies or Enemies. We are a board gaming couple that usually plays two-player games, although this time we are talking about a game that is better known for how it plays with four. Root is an adorable asymmetrical war game designed by Wehrle and the team at Leader Games. It's about a 90-ish minute game that is fairly complex, that puts you in control of one of four very different groups of woodland creatures, who all want to control the forest, mostly through brutal, bloody, but still cute as a button warfare. The box says it's for 2 to 4 players, but we'll come back to that right after we touch on how it plays.
Root is the epitome of an asymmetrical game, to the point where it's almost like each player is playing a different game. There's a similar base, as the factions generally move, recruit, build, craft, draw, and battle, all with the purpose of scoring points, but how and when they do those things varies wildly. The Marquis de Cat starts with troops in almost every clearing like a feline empire and builds that power base with troops and buildings to maintain their furry grasp. The Airy dynasty are the bureaucrats of the forest who rule by a strict decree which must be followed each turn lest they fall into decline and have to restart their expansion. The Woodland Alliance starts with no warriors on the board, just whispers of revolution, which soon becomes a full-scale uprising as they enlist cute and deadly creatures to their cause, while the Vagabond is a lone raccoon who pops in and out of the trees, forming alliances, completing quests, and sowing discord. It really is like learning 4 games at once, and thankfully, the game goes a long way to getting all of that info into your brain. There's a quick start rulebook, a faction by faction rulebook, your own faction rules on your player mat, and then the full-scale Laws of Root, which is a dense book that you will be checking often and will take a bit of patience and maybe a friend with a law degree. It's a steep learning curve that you won't want to teach a friend for one casual game, but the system works well once you get it.
At its heart, Root is really a 4-player game. Just like in the real world, the whole system works best when there are checks and balances, with the big military powers keeping each other at bay enough for the little guys to quietly build their base or sneakily pop in while everyone else is distracted. At 3, that is still possible, although it might turn into mini shifting 2-on-1s against the leader. But with 2, it becomes a different game. You do have some 2-player options. The game suggests either running the cats versus the Eyrie, or doing less balanced matchups and trading sides after a game, although either of those kind of change the game from a multi-dimensional puzzle of alliances to a more one-dimensional dice-rolling battle. We've had the most fun controlling 2 factions each, and that can kind of work, but you really need to be able to compartmentalize to keep the balance between factions. There are also bots available, though we haven't tried them, and other ideas can be found online. But while it can be some fun, it is never going to play quite as the game was intended.
Because each faction plays so very differently, Root comes with a lot of built-in replayability. Getting comfortable with each of the different playstyles will take you a few games, and mastering them will take quite a few more. We've played half a dozen times with 2 and probably twice that with 4, and we still feel like we are barely touching the surface. But if you want even more variety, there are plenty of expansions which add a cult of lizards, a band of capitalist otter arms dealers, a royal cult of expansionist moles, and a band of crow revolutionaries. There are also different maps, new cards, and a bunch of alternate versions of the original Vagabond. And even though there is a lot in that base game, and not all of these factions are created equal, the game does really shine once you have the full roster of possibilities.
Leader Games has done a heck of a job of blending adorable woodland creatures with brutal war. The wooden meeples have a lot of personality, with their little faces and expressions. The map also does a great job, as do the other versions, which provide more options. The cards all bring out the theme in everything, and the player boards really shine as they walk you through each turn and possibility, which in this game is definitely needed. Everything is well planned for both look and function, But again, there is a lot going on, and there is a lot to miss. So you have to keep an eye on all of this chaotic cuteness. But there is no denying the table presence.
Root does a terrific job of providing a way into wargaming for people who never would have even looked at the genre. It's an extremely cutthroat area control game, but it doesn't feel so bad when the attacking army is a bunch of otters. And it does a good job of giving every faction ways to quickly rebuild, so you usually don't feel too hopeless. The factions are generally well balanced, with a few notable exceptions, but runaway leaders are usually quelled by alliances and a kind of diplomatic push and pull, so it partially evens out, and sometimes being underwhelming can be a sneaky strength. I'm not sure we can recommend it if you only play with 2, however, unless you are exceptionally good at compartmentalizing. But if you have 4 or even 3, and you have time to really sit down with some rules and you don't get too hurt if your friends kill your birds and blow up your buildings, it is a game that we have had a lot of fun with. And that is it. We would love to hear your thoughts about Root, especially for 2 players. Have you found other ways to make it work? And please do like and subscribe, and hopefully we will see you all next time for another game.